Today we will be revisiting the Kapy Rock mission in Kerbal Space Program 2. A few episodes ago I have tried to make a craft that would go to the Kapy Rock, but as I said in my Nate interview, that didn't go so well. Forced my Kerbal to walk and I couldn't perform the experiment. So today I will be launching this beautiful aircraft that will be going all the way to Kapy Rock with some rocket assisted technology, and then flying over the South Pole with some beautiful vistas and arriving to the Kapy Rock. But how it's gonna go? Well, that you're gonna have to see for yourself in the video. Hello and welcome. So today's mission du jour is Kerbin-wide tour Kapy Rock for 400 science and, more importantly, bragging rights that I have finally concluded that mission. And to do that, I'm going to be unlocking the jumbo jet technology because of the engines that I really need to pull that thing off. First things first, I'm going to be attaching the pod's science. Well, obviously the cockpit needs to be there. We need to put the science compartment as well as the reaction wheels. And then I realized, hold on, there is an additional science part for the air science, which I want to be placing in front. Yeah, there we go. So that's the nose cone and that's the game. Right, so that's our craft, and that means we need to actually, empty this out of oxidizer because we are not gonna go to the space. No siree. We are just gonna be flying all the way there. However, I'm gonna be trying the different design because previously I was doing, space shuttle launch stuff and it didn't go so well on the re-entry. Now I have better technology, better cockpits and better Kerbals and, better pilot behind the keyboard. So hopefully that will work. Now that being said, we have a couple of, we have the fuselage, obviously, and I'm going to be placing the regular engine here. However, this craft needs to be mighty because otherwise it's going to be flying so slow that, I'm going to probably die of old age before it gets to Kapy Rock. So I figured I'm going to be placing some whiplash boosters or engines, as well as a little bit more of a methane tank. Couple that with a shock cone intakes and you got yourself a craft capable of doing some things actually. Put on the U2 style wings, which we'll have to obviously re-engineer at a later stage, but then we need the two tail fins and we need the two canards at the front. So now I was thinking, okay, why don't I get the procedural parts? And little did I know that they were occluded by the parts manager. Yeah, I'm silly. I know it. What can I tell you? Anyway, so I'm pressing buttons here and obviously nothing is happening. So yeah, I decided to, put on the tail fins and it's gonna be a funny craft to file, I can tell you that much. So when I closed, then I realized, hold on, wing shape. Well, that's the menu I've been looking for. Okay, speaking of that, that means we are into the wing definition, size and all that jazz. So now I'm just trying to make it look good and making sure that the aircraft is aerodynamically stable, everything looks dandy, and that we can actually fly the damn thing. Now, that's about the main wings. I believe the main wings is okay. Now we should probably be just aligning them forward and back, and then we do get a little bit of thickness, having it a little bit more arrow shape rather than delta shape. Okay, front end canards. I'm also reducing them a little bit just to make sure that they look nice and they perform a function. And then we're going to taking tail fins because these one feel a little bit itsy bitsy too big. Yeah, and I'm using, I think, the medium wings and medium control surfaces because those can withstand heat better, according to the developers. Good to know. Right. So with these tail fins being defined, I also need them to look nice and look the part, and also make the craft dynamically stable. We'll be calling this craft the Kapy Rock Explorer, and obviously I'm going to be putting some decouplers. And I'm going to be putting the two Hammer SRBs on the side. These guys are here to provide that little bit extra oomph when you get to the high altitudes and you want to shorten the travel time and increase the acceleration to ridiculous amounts, because those are actually mighty important. Right. So with that thing being said, let us put the landing gear and then we'll be taking everything else. Right, so let's put in the ladder and then we're gonna be talking a little bit more about the aerodynamics and all that jazz. Right, so everything looks good. Center of mass, aligning it with center of lift, just to make sure that everything is put together in the right way. And now we're beginning putting the landing, landing system. Let's call it landing system. Some people call them parachutes. I call them the landing system. Because, well, I tried to landing on the landing gear. It didn't go really well. I mean, I needed to land very, very centrally. So this way it's gonna be a little bit more precise, if you will. Then we want to be putting the air brakes. Air brakes will allow us to significantly decelerate in the short amount of time so that our landing can be quite precise. And they will decelerate to the point where the chutes can just take over, hopefully. That's the plan. So, having said that, this craft looks quite good to me, and it will need obviously some testing, but all in all, I believe that it's just enough. I had to make sure that I have disabled auto friction control and all of those components, and then I realized, hold on, well, this craft doesn't have a lander can, because in the specification of the mission we have to have a lander can on the craft. Okay, so we have put another lander can. Right. Save, and I think it's about right. We just want to make sure that we have crewed correctly, and then we will be able to launch. Alright, we are on the runway and hitting the accelerators, everything staging, and the center engine is only igniting at this point. Oh, look at the blood moon at the end of the runway. Guys, I seriously didn't plan this, but this looks amazing. Just look at this scatter, how the moon is, like blood moon, it's just amazing. Alright, taking off. And as you can tell, we are taking off gently with a single engine. No particular reason, I just wanted to make a nice gentle ascent slope while I'm taking in the screenshots for, shit and giggles. Anyway, we are going slightly 90 meters per second, and what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna be turning to the rough heading of 100 and let's say 50, 160-ish. Because I want to be crossing the south pole of Kerbin, and then we will be going to the Kapy Rock. Alright, turning the whiplash engines, make sure that we hit that accelerator mark to the fullest, and then we go to first heading of 135, and let's angle it upwards. There we go. So now my next goal is to go as high as possible, to gain altitude as quickly as possible, while at the same time going to the correct heading. Look at the moon in the corner, it looks ever so beautiful. Right. So we are increasing, and I've put everything into 1.5 time acceleration just for your benefit, so you don't lose your sanity as I almost did. Now, going downwards, as you can tell, we are heading to the South Pole. Look at this. Beautiful moonshot. Yeah. Anyway, we are gaining altitude. My goal is to be skimming along the 20,000 meters altitude. That's at the highest level where these engines are really efficient. However, and they provide insane amounts of thrust. And the air there is thin enough so that we can still steer. However, we do have controls and we do have acceleration. My target velocity should be around 900-ish to 1000 meters per second, which is basically, if I understand it correctly, 2.5, almost 3 Mach. So yeah, that's gonna be sufficient. So the craft looks like a regular plane, but it flies almost like SR-71 Blackbird. Yeah, maybe I should have gone with the SR-71 Blackbird design. Maybe the craft would have been a little bit better. However, I think that those engines are not technically ramjets? I'm not sure. Anyway, 659 meters per second, and we are on the 20,000 mark. So once we get, high enough and good enough, I'm gonna be engaging my rocket engines, because those rocket engines are essentially just boosters. And when they engage, things happen. They tend to fly quickly too. So right now I'm just making sure that I do accelerate a little bit on the downward slope. As I said, I'm gonna be skimming a little bit, just up and down, bouncy a little. But on my next ascent, when we accelerate sufficiently, then I will be kicking the boosters. And let's see what acceleration can these hammers give us. So 815, 820, 16,000 meters. We're going to start to see some deceleration happening around 20-kilometer mark. And there we go. Boosters ignite, and so does our apoapsis. I mean, there's not a lot of fuel in those engines, and soon enough they're gonna be off, and let's, decouple them, bye-bye, to get rid of that extra weight. That will also give us a little bit of acceleration, so apoapsis is at 35. At this point, these engines cannot breathe, but they will give us enough acceleration so that we will be maintaining a speed of 900-ish meters per second as we go down and then continue. So yeah, I was thinking about having multiple boosters, but that would require me to having much slower acceleration. I also experimented with, instead of hammers, having, the bigger ones. I'm not exactly what they're called, the bigger ones, but those were just crazy. So yeah, I've decided to go with the hammers. And aesthetically, they look pleasing enough, so they do make sense to me. I don't know. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. And while you're there, you might as well press the like on this button and subscribe. And obviously, while I'm there, huge thank you to my patrons and channel members. You guys help me to do what I do, and I appreciate your support a lot. Thank you very much for being a part of my journey. Right, now, with that thing said, we are almost at 12,000 meters, so we plunked pretty low this time. However, that gives us a nice ascent slope where we can just, hammer on the engines, and let's say, can we get to 1,000 meters per second? Almost. Come on, you can do it. Come on, keep pushing, keep pushing. Oh boy. Okay, we are 960. So there are going to be a couple of orbital skips. However, once we get there, the orbital skips, I've decided to turn off the engine, because past 23 kilometers, the engines would flame out. So really, there's no point of me engaging them. Once we get below 20 kilometers, the engines will be relight. So, right. Anyway, as we are skipping down, we are also picking up speed to a degree, and obviously since we are on downward trajectory, I need to use my wings to, accelerate enough so we don't dip too much, just to make sure that we can maintain an even level flight. So if I manage to accelerate at 18 kilometers altitude, I will be able to accelerate a little bit faster. So let's even out a little bit, have this gentler slope, and let's see, can we this time break 1,000? After all, this is gonna be taking a few of these, bumps and downs and bumps and downs. So speaking of that, in the previous episode, as I mentioned, we are going on we did take a shuttle-like craft, and obviously it didn't go very well. So the reason for that was mainly due to the re-entry heating, which was excessive, and this was prior to For Science update. So yeah, I did. Oh no, actually it wasn't prior to the For Science update. It was prior to 0210, when they dialed down the atmospheric heating by a notch. And yeah, that actually managed to help quite a lot. Right, so we are at 21 kilometers, ever so slightly on an upward slope. However, I'm thinking we're probably going to be closing down on the South Pole, and I do intend to do atmospheric science experiment there. Alright, soon the sun will rise with Bob Kerman and Greg Rod Kerman as the new king. Yeah, too much Lion King, I know. Right, So, my plans going forward with the KSP2 is I'm going to be trying these huge missions with 200 tons to Duna, 200 tons to Minmus. However, 200 tons to Minmus feels a little bit too low rewards, and they've confirmed it. I mean, 400 science for, or no, what was it, 35 science for landing a 200-ton craft on Minmus. I would say that would need to be more around 200 or at least 500k range, because landing a 500 or 200 tons on Minmus, well, that's not insignificant. It's not a lot, but it's not insignificant. And if you try to launch it as a single launch, well, good luck to you. I know Shadow Zone can do it, but and probably Mad, but I don't know. I'm still struggling with that design. And anyway, while we're there, we have the atmosphere over the mountains, but we are coming up on the ice caps. I'm waiting for the atmospheric study above the ice caps, because there we are able to fly 6 minutes over the ice caps and obtain the experiment, compared to the flying over the mountains. And you can see gently the dawn will be breaking, so soon enough we're gonna get on the sunny side. And then we're gonna go directly north onwards to the Kapy Rock. So it is a little bit longer journey. I think in real life it did take me up to an hour. Look at that sunrise. Isn't it beautiful? Isn't it glorious? Yeah, I certainly think so. It looks just dang gorgeous. And if their heating effects wouldn't be there, it would have been even more perfect. Right. Beautiful. Alright. Making sure that I'm now correcting my trajectory as I'm passing over the South Polar ice cap. We are gonna go a little bit more. We're gonna need to be turning a little bit more towards the heading of 0. But that needs to be done incrementally and gently. As you can tell, we are straightening up our line, and that's kind of important. So gently turning as much as we can, and then we're gonna be hitting the engines. All of the engines are enabled, and the engines will be, performing to the best of their abilities. If we get too high, they get choked a little bit by the lack of intake air, but they restart later on. So yeah, there we go. Ice cap below us, experiment was done, and apparently we are just correcting our trajectory and enjoying the beautiful views. However, at this point we are flying quite quickly, so we're going 955 kilometers per second. So yeah, roughly I think that's 2.5 Mach 2.5-ish. I know 300 and... no, actually it's almost Mach 3. 990 would be Mach 3, right? So yeah. Right. Whiplash, engines performing nominally, and as you can see, there is our orbital marker. There's the marker for the Kapy Rock. So, yeah, I know, it's a longer-ish flight. Submit, research report submitted. So, trying to squeeze every ounce of science on this flight. This flight is not gonna yield us a lot of science like the previous one, where we actually went all the way to Gilly and performed the landing and gotten the science, but it's gonna give us a little bit. Right. That being said, I really was looking for an aircraft mission rather than the spacecraft mission. It's been too few aircrafts on this channel, and I'm really enjoying the aircraft gameplay. As we progress along, I'm pressing save constantly because I'm always worried about the Kraken. However, I can tell you, aircraft is performing just nicely. I mean, this works. And the amount of fuel, I hope we will have enough. It should be plenty. However, you can never be too careful. I mean, these whiplashes are, thirsty engines. Really, really thirsty. And as you can see, I'm correcting my heading almost to 0 degrees, which is like, the compass north. And we are once again going for another hop. Just dip out of the atmosphere a little bit and then dip back in. Right, there we go, 20 kilometers, and oh, apparently I have overestimated that the Kerbin's rotation speed, so that means I'll need to do a little bit of a hefty turn. I'm gonna need to turn almost to 315, and at this velocities and this altitude, that's gonna be a tricky proposal. However, we can do it. So what I need to be doing, I need to go a little bit lower, just below 20, and then I'm gonna be angling my craft towards the 315 and pulling upwards on a stick. Hopefully that should be enough. Alright, the aircraft is turning, albeit slowly. However, I think our marker should be just ahead of us on this desert peninsula where it should be seen as a lake. Right, let me just double check. Yeah, it's the first lake that we should be seeing. And I think I see the lake, which means that is our marker. There should be the Kapy Rock. The place we have not yet conquered. Yeah, there we go. Look how nicely we have aligned our trajectory. That's just beautiful. Speaking of which, I believe it's time that we turn off our, turn off our engines, take a screenshot, obviously, and turn off the big two engines because those engines are no longer needed. They need to go super fast. And I don't think we need to go super fast anymore. We're gonna be decelerating a little bit, and then we're gonna be nosediving down, pull up 180 degrees, and hopefully land. So, yeah, up to this point, this was what was announced in the intro. Now we're going into the uncharted territory. 14 kilometers and a lot of systems to test and a little bit science to gather. So let's see if we manage to pull this one off. We're obviously nosediving with the engines shut off, and the moment we shut them on, we're gonna be using only the center engine because I think that one is enough, to be perfectly honest with you. So there we go. I'm gonna deactivate these two engines, and the Weasley will be working nominally. Right, engine mode cruise, there we go, and time to perform the 180 turn. Going ever so slowly. The engine actually is decent enough. It won't go and it won't break any speed records, but it's just enough to push this aircraft at a decent speed so that it can fly. Pulling down the landing gear, and I don't need it to go fast, I just need it to fly. So that's good enough, I would say. Kerbin wide tour, Kapy Rock, trying out my air brakes just to make sure that they work. Look at the Kapy Rock, and now the fun starts to fly. Let's see. Decelerating ever so slowly, pulling up the air brakes and stopping mid-air with the parachute's landing system. Uh-oh. Did I overestimate the amount of chutes being held at the back? Maybe I needed more chutes at the front. Please don't kill my Kerbals. Come on. Pull back, pull back, pull back on the stick. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Well, the cockpit is still there, but I believe the air experiment bit the dust. Well, no worries. I mean, I don't need it anymore anyway. It's a good thing that we still have the observation thingy. Now, it's time to turn on the engines and get really, really uncomfortably close to the Kapy Rock, because there is where the science will happen and where our mission will be fulfilled. We're 200 meters off, so we are pretty close, and our suspensions are keeping me in suspense, and my frame rate was keeping me in suspense as well. The frame rate was really low around the border of this region, but once I came closer, it actually went way better. I don't know why. Devs, look into it, please, if you get a chance. Alright, so coming here, experiment interrupted, and no, don't go back. Brake. I wish that the brakes could be toggleable. I think if you put them on an action group, they are, but if you don't, well, it's not. So, engaging the engine a little bit, making sure that I turn, because I did want it to have a cool screenshot as well when we get out of the plane and perform the science. There we go. Something along those lines. Alright, good. Now, let's see, braking power. I was here looking for the toggle brake. There was no toggle brake. So I figured, how will I ensure that my craft doesn't move? Because if I get out, the craft goes bye-bye and I'll need to run after it. And then I came to a quick realization, well, when there are no brakes, well, you don't need the gear, right? So I have decided maybe if I lower the landing gear, it's just soft sand. What could possibly go wrong, right? Yeah, let's test it out. Okay, save the game and landing gear. There we go. Gear landed, the aircraft works well. Now let's get out of the craft and take this all-important selfie that we wanted to do. Peregrine lander, there we go. Get out. And let's take a cool selfie in front of the Kapy Rock. I don't know if I want to have it as a screenshot for the episode because, guys, you know, it would be revealing too much. Almost spoiler territory. Tell me now in the comments, what do you think? Should I be posting like the landmark pictures or should I, you know, just keep it as spoiler free? What are your preferences? Let me know in the comments below. Having said that, it's time for our selfies and our experiments. Apparently I have wandered a little bit too far. This Kerbal is dawdling back and forth. So, yeah. Screenshot, good. Run the surface survey and orbital observation. It seems to be looking, you know, willy-nilly. Yawning because I'm talking too much, clearly. And then doing the science experiment, and then we'll be planting the flag. Hopefully that will give us the experiment done. So site name, Kapy Rock. I didn't know that the Cappy was written with a K rather than C for those eagle-eyed among you. And if we go up to the craft, the mission should be fulfilled. Is it? Boarding a vessel, yep, research trajectory, and the mission should be complete. Run environment survey. Good. There we go. I believe the mission is complete, and then we should be recovering the vessel and seeing how much science did we actually get. So, 400 science, and we did get some additional science here and there. There you go. Looks awesome, and that will be pushing us to 9.4 thousand. So we'll be going to be consuming this science in the next episode. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.